Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here today to start another whole week. Yeah, it's the end of October. We'll be into November before the week's over. And so I just thought I'd share a few scriptures that talk about God and us and how we relate and so on and so forth. And no particular direction, but just that idea of God and us. And so I want to begin in Galatians chapter 6 and verses 7 through 9. And here's what we read. Paul writes to the Galatians, "Don't be misled. You cannot mock the justice of God. You will always harvest what you plant. Those who live only to satisfy their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death from that sinful nature. But those who live to please the Spirit will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit." So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Now, it's kind of interesting. This passage begins with "don't be misled" and ends with "don't give up." Three words sort of bookends this conversation. Don't be misled. You know, what that says is that you can be. Evidently, if you couldn't be, it wouldn't say that. So you can be misled. You can understand wrongly. You can be, okay, here comes, sorry, you can be wrong. Yeah, nobody wants to hear that. I don't like to hear it. I don't expect you like to hear it either, but we can be wrong. So it says, don't be misled. He goes on to say, you cannot mock the justice of God. I know it looks like at times God's justice isn't happening. I think a lot of people want to take God's justice into their own hands, and they want to make sure this person gets what they deserve. Well, I grant you, in certain situations, the person deserves awful. But I also want to say that except for the forgiveness of God, we deserve the same thing. You see, in God's eyes, sin is sin is sin. There's no big, there's no little sin. It's just sin. And it says God will get justice. Now, that's an important thing to remember. Whatever I see, whatever I experience, whatever I think, God's justice will prevail. Now, in light of that, he goes on to say, you will always harvest what you plant. Garden times are over around here. But people plant things in the spring expecting to get what they plant. If they plant corn, they don't expect to get cauliflower. If they plant tomato bushes, they don't expect to get potatoes. You get what you plant. Now, it doesn't say how soon you get it. And in terms of kindness and compassion and love and grace, it might be years, but it's inevitable. Just as the first three words, "don't be misled," is inevitable. You will reap what you sow. So some of us need to really think about, what are we sowing? Well, let's go on. It says some more here. Those who live only to satisfy their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death. Those who live to please the Spirit will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit. I've seen many situations where the actions of the parents repeat themselves on the children. Now, maybe the parents didn't mean to do that, but they did. I've seen actions of preachers show up in the people that they supposedly care about. Now, don't misunderstand me. Everybody who goes to church isn't a saint. And every preacher who preaches in a church isn't a saint either. But there comes a time when we must understand that if we seek the ways of God, that will come to pass in our lives. Those who live to please the Spirit of God will harvest everlasting life. And that's a pretty good thing. Now, I maybe like you, I don't really think much about living and dying. I mean, I know I'm going to die. Everybody does. I don't know why I'd be an exception. And I really don't think about how old I am and how much closer I am to that than what I once was. The only time I ever thought about it is when I turned 45 and I realized that I'd probably lived more of my life than I had left to live. Well, we'll find out if that becomes the truth or not, but it probably will. But the point is, life goes on. And for those who love the Lord, for you, for me, it goes on forever. If we sow kindness and grace and the love of God, we will reap the results of that. Now, the last part is really interesting. And it says, so let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing. It's hard to hang on to being the good guy when everybody's pelting you with garbage. I've been there. It's hard to maintain your control when you're around people who don't seem to have any. It's hard to do the right thing when it looks like those who don't do the right thing are the ones who are reaping the rewards. But it says here, don't give up. Don't quit doing what God wants you to do. You will receive the blessing. When? Well, in God's timing. I know I want it like you now. But that doesn't mean I'm going to get it now. It does mean I am going to get it. Now, here's the last phrase of this passage. All of this will happen if we don't give up. Why would you give up? Well, mainly because you don't see it working. You don't see anything happening. You don't see any changes. And so surely you're wasting your time. But in God's eyes, you're not wasting your time. Doing the right thing, showing love and grace and compassion is always the right thing. And if that becomes the focus of your life, then God says your blessings will be there. What do you think about it? I hope your life is full of blessings. And if it's not, I hope it will be tomorrow or the day after or the day after that. Because God says, if we don't give up, you think about that. If you have a need or concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. So until tomorrow, when I have another thought, God bless you. I'll talk to you again.